I never give any one client more than the equivalent of 10 or 15 hours a week. If you give them all your time and they really like you and they want to keep you, they're going to make you a job offer. And nothing kills a good consulting relationship faster than a job offer.
Welcome back to How Much Can I Make? I'm your host, Mirav Ozeri. Ever wondered what consultants actually do? Or how can they go from 9-to-5 job to running their own consulting business? Today I'm talking to Amy Rasdall, who swapped corporate life for the freedom of consulting. She's here to share with us how it all works and how much can you actually make. So Amy, thank you very much for being here and sharing your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I have lots of questions, and I want to start by, what is a consultant? What does a consultant do?
Yes. So there are many versions of it. For me, I like to call it a superhero with a superpower making super pay.
Okay.
So for me, it's not, there's a lot of talk these days about fractional, which is kind of part-time contract, higher level executive stuff. So for me, it's going in, doing the work that really is your expertise, making a big impact, getting well compensated for the impact and contribution that you're making, and then moving on to whatever the next thing might be. So I like to say again, superhero, superpower, super pay.
So who can become a consultant? I mean, it sounds really good. You make a great pay, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but who can become one?
Anyone can consult. If you can get paid for it, you can do it. But I'm kind of, in what I do, focused on more typically corporate folks, people who've been working corporate 9-to-5 jobs, who then leave that 9-to-5 job and do consulting. The work that they're doing is very similar to the work that they were doing in their corporate job, but they're doing it on a consulting basis, which gives them a lot more control over how they work, where they work, who they work with, how much money they make, those kinds of things.
Right, but I would think that somebody needs to be an expert in something in order to consult.
Yes, but expert has a broad range. You just need to be able to make a contribution. So expertise doesn't need to be, a PhD, thought leader type of person. It can be anybody who's really good at what it is they do. So for sure, it is somebody who has 5, 10, 15 years or more experience in the area that they consult in. So it's not new college grads. It's not somebody that wants to do something completely different. But if you've been doing marketing or accounting or mechanical engineering or HR or whatever it might be, then you do it on a project basis.
So it's in a way, it's
companies.
like freelancing as a consultant, right?
Yes, so it's very similar to freelancing. The term freelancing, in my experience, is more typically used for creatives rather than corporate folks. And I think in my world, there's an impression that consultants are making more money than freelancers.
What industries do you think or do you know that hire consultant usually?
Almost all flavors of corporations hire it. My personal background is a lot of medical devices, life sciences, things like that. But I have people in my programs from every type of industry you can imagine. I can't think of any that categorically don't. It's the idea of a company having a special need or project that they don't need to hire a full-time employee to do. Occasionally, it is an interim need. It's because somebody's left and they need to fill the gap until somebody else comes along. But more typically, it's a special project. My expertise is product development programs that aren't going the way they should. They hire me to come in and figure out what's going wrong, get it back on track, and then leave the team there to carry on, and I go away.
What about AI? Do you see a lot of companies just using AI instead of hiring consultant?
I don't know. I think that will be interesting. Right now, I don't see that AI fills the job of a real person still. Now, I do think there's going to be a role for AI consultants. I don't know exactly what that is, but for sure there's all kinds of people and companies wondering, what's it going to mean? What's it going to do? I know in my own work and personal life, I'm using AI more and more. I'm hearing people talking about, well, it's going to take jobs. So it's funny because My husband and I were just talking about this. It must have been like about 1981. I was a college student and I got a temp job and I had like a little airline stewardess outfit. I guess we call them flight attendants now, right? I'm dating myself. And I was part of the team for Bank of America, hired as a temp, that worked on the rollout of the first automated teller machine.
Wow.
And we would stand in front of them in our little uniforms. And instead of spitting out money yet, we were helping people get their ATM cards. And it would spit out like a free Big Mac or a free Slurpee at 7-Eleven and stuff like that to get them used to. And at the time, the big thing was this is going to take people's jobs. People aren't going to be bank tellers anymore, all this big stuff, where it's all going to go out. I'm a
Yeah.
software engineer by background. So AI has been around forever. It's just code.
Right.
I don't believe at this moment AI is taking the job of any consultant. If anything, I don't know how you position yourself, but I have a feeling that there's a new opportunity for AI consultants.
That's very possible. How did you get your first job?
Oddly enough, my first job, I had been at a startup and we went, gangbusters way into the sky and then we crashed and burned hard when it stopped being successful. So I was looking for a job and had kind of put out word to everyone that I knew that I was looking for a job. A consulting project fell into my lap because somebody that knew me said, I don't have a job for you, but we have this project. We need someone about 20 hours a week for 3 months. Would you be interested? And I said, yes, that sounds great. And I'm thinking that's perfect. It brings in enough money to pay the bills, gives me a little time to look around without burning through savings while I'm looking and waiting. I got 4 or 5 weeks into that and I said, cancel the job search. I'm now a consultant. So that's really how I got started, was somewhat accidentally.
And did you become an expert in a certain field?
Well, what's interesting is that my deepest experience and expertise is medical devices. But if I look at my history of billable work, it's probably only about half medical devices.
Wow.
Because I would get referred. I did a project for American Idol once in the early days of American Idol. It was so fun. They were doing a sweepstakes contest one year. It was 4 tickets, all expenses paid to the finale. And this is when American Idol was kind of like the only one of those shows. Now there's tons of them. And so it was a huge deal. Everyone knew American Idol. And so they did a sweepstakes to promote it. And it turns out sweepstakes are highly regulated. So there was a lot of details that needed to be done. And they hired me to do the sweepstake contest, like the operational part of it.
Because
So
your
it was just
knowledge was
crazy.
in IT, or why did they hire you?
No, because somebody knew me and said, if you just want somebody who no matter what can get it done and will chase every detail to the last degree and it will be good, you call Amy.
Give me an example. You get a job, you don't really know the company, you're not in the company, you get a consulting job. We'll get to the pay in a minute. But what do you do? How do you take it from there? What's your first step when you get a consulting job?
So, first, I just jump in. Most new consultants are surprised that the client company doesn't know that much about what the consultant actually needs to come in and do. They have a problem. So, the first thing coming in is to figure out, okay, here's what they told me that's going on, gather all the information that you can, and then start digging into what really is going on. How do we need to fix it? How closely does it map to what they may have thought is going on and needs to be done to fix it? Because sometimes it's really clear and you just zoom right through. Sometimes there's a really big gap. A lot of times it's either a problem or a special project that they're trying to do with a, kind of a one-time thing that they're not going to repeat over and over. So really it's a matter of just kind of rolling up your sleeves and digging in and figuring it out. The ability to work with all levels of the company. So from the executives to all the way to the guys who are on the shipping dock and kind of everything in between. It's a benefit to be able to work with different functional areas to build relationships. There are some benefits depending what it is you do to having a versatile interpersonal style so that you can get along with a lot of different people. One of the interesting things is you come in to solve a problem. You had nothing to do with creating the problem, but sometimes you get blamed for it. So that's kind of part of the job, is taking some of the hits for the problems that are in the project, even though you didn't contribute to them.
How do you charge your clients? How do you make this decision?
You You figure out what you want to charge, and then the market has to be willing to pay it. It's hard, and there's many different sort of philosophies and emotions around it. There's a sense for professional level people that we don't bill hourly. Like people at McDonald's make hourly rates, not high level professional consultants. But I think that's ridiculous, right? I think that at the end of the day, you're selling hours and you should know what you're making per hour. In terms of how you position that with a potential client, I think it depends on their needs. So it may be hourly, it may be daily, it may be a monthly retainer. But at the end of the day, I'm always teaching my people, make sure you know what your hourly rate is. If you have no idea where to start, you start at $150 an hour and you take it from there. If you're worth more, by all means, I want you to charge more. People have a tendency to undercharge, to
Right.
not have the courage to charge what they're really worth. I don't like to be shy. I like to just throw out, let's start talking at 150. And what I tell the people who are in my programs, I say, if you think you should be charging less than that, then I'm going to make you convince me why, you know?
If you make a deal with a client for 3 months and after 2 months the job ends for whatever reason, they sold the company or whatever, how does it work? Do they still have to pay you for the rest of the term?
On the occasion that for some reason they don't need me anymore, I usually just make sure that I'm paid for what I've worked and then move on. But I will also tell you that I never give any one client all of my time.
Oh, so you work
So
on few projects at the same time?
yes. So I never give any one client more than the equivalent of 10 or 15 hours a week. And again, this is what I teach my people because if you give them all your time and they really like you and they want to keep you, they're going to make you a job offer. And nothing kills a good consulting relationship faster than a job offer. Superhero, superpower, super pay, not day-to-day operational employee. I want to do what I'm really good at, and then my job is to go away and not stay there and be locked in. So I give any one client 10 or 15 hours a week, and I have 2 or 3 or 4 consulting projects going at any one time. So if somebody drops out before we expected it to, then I have others going in, and then I have people in my pipeline that I can fill in with that.
How long have you been a consultant?
Well, I say 15 years, but it's been more than 20. Over time, I did just consulting for a long time. And what I found is that I kept getting more and more people talking to me and asking me, like, hey, Amy, you seem to really like doing this. You're making good money. I see you, having this great life, having flexibility. Can we have lunch and talk about how do you do it? So I started thinking, what do I love? What do I hate? What do I do differently? I started to accumulate a body of material. I realized the market was looking for it. So I founded a little more than 10 years ago, Billable at the Beach. So at this point, I'm only doing Billable at the Beach. It's a program, it has all the online stuff, group coaching kind of stuff that helps leads people through starting their own consulting business. So I don't do hands-on consulting anymore. I'm completely focused on that.
What will your student learn? What can they get?
What they'll get is the inspiration, the motivation, and more importantly, the mechanics for how to get started. And the big thing, I am a very practical person. In my corporate world, my strength is not strategy, but implementation and execution. So my whole approach is I assume that you want to start a business consulting because you need to generate revenue. So my whole focus is land a project, get a check in the bank, and then you do the other stuff. You don't need a website, you don't need a logo, you don't need fancy photos, you don't even need a fancy name. You need brain power, business experience, a computer, and a phone. That's all you need to get started. Start doing project work. Do you need those other things at some point? Absolutely. But first, let's figure out how to generate revenue.
Interesting. So, what is the most common way people break into consulting? Let's say they took your
The,
course and all of that, they know what to do. How do they break in actually?
so I have this, of course, right? I have this a free email course on my website that I call a catchy 3 action steps to generate revenue now. So first, you put together what I call your value proposition or your elevator pitch. It's just what are the services that you're selling? What do you do? Are you an accountant? Are you a marketing person? Are you PhD toxicologist? What are the services that you have to offer? And then I tell people, make a list of all the people that you know, all the people that you've worked with before, and then don't underestimate the power of the rest of your community, your doctor, your dentist, your lawyer, your car mechanic. I've sometimes, like, I've been on field trips with the kids, and we live in San Diego, so the closest mission is San Juan Capistrano. All you load in fourth grade, everybody does this. You load all the kids on the train, you take them up to the mission. So on the way up in the train, the parents are all like mingling. On the way back on the train, after everybody's tired, the parents are all in the bar car. So we're chatting, and then it's like we're done with the kids. It's like, so what do you do? So what do you do? I mean, I've gotten referrals from other parents, from family friends, from I went to an opera one time and I was by myself. So some guy was out in front, said, saw me approaching the ticket window, said, "Hey, are you looking for a ticket?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, my wife's sick today. I have really great seats. I'll give it to you at half price." I'm like, "Great." Well, operas are long. So we're chatting during intermission and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm the COO at a medical device company in San Diego." And we traded cards. I did a project. So once you start kind of opening your eyes to the possibilities. So what I teach first is really mine your existing relationships. And LinkedIn is perfect, right? You dig into LinkedIn, you worked for Hewlett Packard 25 years ago. You could look up and find the people, right? You were at CBS, you could go onto LinkedIn, and if you've lost touch with people, find out where they all are and reach back out on LinkedIn, right?
So a lot of it is the right connection and luck. Luck. I find out that in
I like
almost
to call
every
it
industry.
serendipity, right? Which is
Yes.
kind of the convergence of luck and being willing to take advantage of it. So there's a quote from Ross Perot, of all people: "You never get the chance to be lucky unless you take risks,"
That's
which
so
I
true.
love,
I never heard that.
right?
That is so true. Yeah. What is the biggest challenge of becoming a consultant?
Oh, for sure. The hardest thing for everybody doing the work is the easy part. The hard part is finding the work and keeping your pipeline full of high quality projects.
So is there any kind of
That's universal.
organization or any kinds of app?
You have to hunt what you eat. It's up to you. But you don't have to be a great networker or a salesperson or an extrovert when you get started. So I'm an engineer by background. I attract a lot of people who are engineers, and I start talking about networking and they think, you can learn. People can learn how to do that. And what's funny is that sometimes the people who come to me who are professional salespeople, they have more trouble selling themselves. They've always sold other things,
Wow.
selling themselves than an introverted IT guy. So it's very interesting to see, but it's a skill that can be learned. It's not something that you have to start out with, but you have to be willing to do the work. And it is going to take you out of your comfort zone.
Do you train your people how to sell themselves?
Yes, I give a lot of ideas, a lot of methods and ideas that are very practical. There's no magic to it. There's no magic app or service. It's really you're responsible for selling yourself. At the end of the day, it's up to you and there's no way around it. And I still get people who've gone through my program is it's actually very cute. I have one woman that I'm thinking of. She's a PhD scientist and she's lovely. And about every 6 months, she still reaches out to me and she says, "Are you sure you don't know of some magic way to sell, like an app or a company or someone who can just bring me all those leads and I would just do the work?" And I say, I'm so sorry, but I don't.
Some people are not fit to be independent. They're better off with a job.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of speaking. And when I do talk about some of these things, I will have people who will come up and say, "Thank you so much, because I've been thinking about this for so long. You made me understand very clearly it's not for me." It's
Very
not for
good.
everybody.
So it's good. What is the biggest reward of becoming a consultant?
For me, it's having control over your life and what you want to choose.
Right.
So it's being able to choose who you work with, what type of projects, how you want to make your contribution. Now, you don't have full control over your get paid because I have a house that's worth $1 million. I'd really like to sell it for 10 million. Well, guess what? No one's going to buy it, right? So there has to be, the market has to be willing to buy what you're selling. At the end of the day, you sort of haven't sold your soul. Nobody is responsible for determining my performance review, my paycheck, my promotion. Those are all up to me now. I just spoke to somebody recently who called it having options instead of obligations.
When you work on a project as a consultant in a company, you finished your job and 3-4 months down the line, there is a problem with something that you did or it doesn't fit or needs to, do they contact you? Did it happen?
Yes, for sure. But usually it's not in the spirit of, oh, you did something wrong. It's in the spirit of, we need a little bit more help.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Before we go, can you tell us the website? How can people reach you?
Sure. It's Billable at the Beach. If you search that and in any way, you'll find my website. My main social media is LinkedIn. I don't do a ton of other social media places. So Amy Rousdell or Billable at the Beach, and you'll find me and my information and things.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll be a consultant one day.
Yes, well,
I always hear
you
about
might already be.
consultants. Yeah, right. Well, I do it for free. I give a lot of advice for people for free. That's
Yeah.
a problem too. You have to learn to charge for your advice.
If you ever want me to convince you, feel free to reach out.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a wrap for today. If you have a comment or question or would like us to cover a certain job, please let us know. Visit our website at howmuchcanimake.info. We would love to hear from you. And on your way out, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with anyone who is curious about their next job. See you next time.